Welcome to the week 3 go-to session, everyone. This is the third of 4 sessions we're having this month. Week 3, as I mentioned at the end of last week's lecture will be entirely devoted to APA format. So cheer, holler, show your happiness. As I said to the group that was here before I started recording this lecture, maybe it's not the most exciting or sexiest lecture, but I do think it might be the most useful because lots of students have never encountered APA before. Most students, if they have dealt with research papers in high school, are more familiar with MLA format. So we do have some APA materials, right? You have a video that I think shows layouts. I'm going to show it anyway because sometimes students either they don't watch the video or they prefer my overall walkthrough that includes layout. So we're going to talk about how to make your paper look like it should, but I'll go beyond that too, and I'll create in-text citations in real time and references. Oh, real quickly, I have to get something else set up. And actually, for just a heartbeat, I have to stop filming my screen for just a second. So let me turn it off for just a moment. I say that because I have to enter in a password. And even though you can't see it, I don't know. I get paranoid about these things. So let me quickly, hold on, give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail here. Yeah, I know. I should have done this before starting the session. I apologize. But we'll get rolling. And hopefully we'll finish a little bit early too. Okay. So what do I need? I need, Full Sail Connect. Okay, we're in business. So I'm sharing my screen again, right? I'm signing into Full Sail Connect. And you probably remember these things from last week. Okay, so once you're in Full Sail Connect, you can scroll down to Library. And if you keep scrolling down, go to Research Databases. Okay. You can use EBSCOhost, but there's also, don't forget about LexisNexis, or they call it now Nexus, Uni? Nexus Uni. Okay. But I'm going to go into EBSCOhost because I'm going to find that same article that we looked at last week because I'm going to use that to create in-text citations and references. So remember I told you that research is not as easy as this. It's just because I know what to type in to trigger this specific article. Okay, so is this article here? Okay, I'm going to come back to this. But here's a look at our class. Okay. We are in week 3. I'm still grading outlines. Okay. I have about, 10 more to grade. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. Oh, this is so annoying. There we go. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I have 10 more outlines to grade. And that's what I'll be doing after tonight's session. I'll be using the 8 p.m. to midnight hours. Remember, we instructors aim for a 72-hour turnaround time. And yeah, sometimes I have to go past the midnight hour. But everybody will wake up Thursday morning and have all day Thursday, all Friday, all Saturday, all Sunday to hand in the next task, which is, so you get feedback on your outline, right? And you're going to use that feedback to write a draft of your paper. That's what the 3.5 activity is. As usual, you have a journal entry, you have an Achieve module over at McGraw-Hill, but the main assignment is to, write a draft of your essay. You can read through all these instructions on your own. I don't really have much to say other than, you're going to take your outline, and if it's in solid shape already, really you're in a great spot because you have the overall structure. Now you just have to write the thing. Some of you, I might have concerns or recommendations. I don't want to mention specific names, but like one person in attendance here, outline looked great. Gave it a perfect 100. Another person who's in attendance, this person's outline was also great. But I had some concerns like about APA format, things like that. Remember what I said last week too? Last week I did talk about APA format. I went to projectapa.info. I did spend some time to talk about it, but I also said don't freak out because week 3 is where I'm going to get really into the weeds with APA format, creating walkthroughs, right? Tonight's session is mostly going to be walkthroughs of APA, but I did want to see you making the good old college try on the outline, meaning is this person following APA format. Yeah, some of the specifics might be off. We're going to get into those finer points today. But is the person, making a serious attempt? If so, I'm giving most of the points for that category. You get 20 points for APA and research. But if it's a completely invented format, like I look at the citations and the references and it's not APA at all, that's where some loss of points happens. I say this not to be the mean instructor, but just to remind people, because you should have already made an attempt at APA for the outline, and because this week, this lecture that you're attending now or watching at home is entirely devoted to APA, for the essay draft, I will expect APA to be almost perfect, okay? But that's why I'm giving this lecture, so you can have it perfect. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you can read all these instructions on your own. I do have to say, I need to add something, because you have this, right? You always have examples. So if you click on here, you can see, remember we've been using 2 ads kind of all month, the Diet Coke ad we looked at in week 1, and you have had student examples every step of the way. So here's the student's essay on the Diet Coke advertisement. And please use these examples. Okay, you can learn so much from looking at examples. For example, sometimes students, despite my lectures, maybe they truly don't get a good sense of what ad analysis looks and feels like until they see an example of an ad analysis essay. I'm going to add my Jeep essay too. I forgot to put it in. So as soon as the session is over, I'm going to upload. So you have 2 examples. Okay, the Diet Coke ad, the Jeep ad. You'll see 2 fully completed essays. I'm trying to read Brian saying having problems due to the thunderstorm. Okay, if you need to leave, that's cool. Are you in Florida? Because it's been raining for 3 days straight here. Okay, so you can read through the instructions on the essay. Listen, you're writing an essay. I don't know how else to put it. That's your main task, and it should be. When I say sometimes essay draft, don't think of it as a draft like the way that sometimes maybe your high school teacher referred to an essay draft. You should be producing your strongest work possible. Okay, so draft does not mean rough draft. It doesn't mean something that's half finished. It doesn't mean something that is in really, really rough shape. Okay, you should be putting forth your strongest effort. Also, it'll be useful because, again, if you did awesome work on the outline, then you should be in good shape for the essay. And the stronger shape that your essay is in, the stronger shape you'll be for the final activity of the course, which is to revise that essay. Okay, so it's a little bit, it's most useful for you and for me if I see your strongest effort on the essay draft. So anyway, let's talk about today's main thing, which is APA. I have a blank Microsoft Word document open. If you want to open a blank Microsoft Word document as well, either the people in attendance or the people watching at home, you can do so. I'll filibuster for a few seconds to give you time to do it. I'm using Microsoft Word, okay, for Mac. I imagine that the version for PC is probably identical or close to it. But if it isn't, or if you're using an alternate word processing program, for example, the Mac version of Microsoft Word is Pages. There are also other, I think there's a free set of tools. What is it called again? I can't think of it. The one that's open source. Open Office, that's the name of it. Also, there is a free version of Microsoft Word online. If you go to Microsoft OneDrive, okay, just type in Microsoft OneDrive. You can use an online version of Microsoft Word. I think it has fewer options. I mean, you can do everything that you would normally do in the full version of the program, but you might have to hunt around for things. So if you're using a different program or different version of this program, maybe you have to search an extra step for some of these things. But I'm going to assume that most of you have access to Microsoft Word. As Kawana states, yes, you all should have access to it as students. I understand that some of you, actually most of you, right? You haven't gotten your MacBooks yet. If you're in month 4, if you're an online student. If you're a campus student, you get your MacBook right away. If you're an online student, I think it's during month 4, and lots of students take English during month 4. So, your MacBook might be arriving toward the end of this month. But still, you should have access to Microsoft Word. Okay, so I have a blank document open. First, we're going to focus on layout. There are 3 aspects to APA. Layout, which is the overall look of the document. In-text citations, so when you either quote something in your actual essay, or you don't quote it directly, but clearly the information you're giving the reader comes from research. You have to cite it right there in the text, in the essay itself. And then there's the references page, which comes at the very end. So we're going to start with layouts. And we're going to begin by creating what's called the header. The header is this top inch or so, right at the top of the page. And if you're using a full version of Microsoft Word, it is as simple as just double-clicking at the top of the page. And you're in the header. Now, if you're using some other form, you'll probably have to go to the menu. Okay. For example, view, header. You can also get there that way. But I'm just going to double-click. Now, what do we need in the header? We need to type the words running head, colon. Okay, lowercase, only the R is capitalized. Then after the colon, we are going to put in all caps the title of your paper. You have to come up with your own title. My Jeep essay is titled Animal Logic. Okay, I'm not going to use that title here. I'm just going to say place holder, title goes here. Okay, that's a terrible name for an essay. Obviously, you'll come up with your own title. I'm just putting in placeholder words. This step is always frustrating, and you're going to be frustrated too when you try to go through these steps. Just be patient. You'll eventually get it. I'm going to copy this because it always disappears for some reason. This is part of the frustration. We need to click this guy here, different first page. By the way, we're in the header and footer tab. If you ever get out of it, for example, if you need to get back to basic choices like font type, spacing, or that's not spacing. Spacing. Okay, that's here under the home, but you can get back to the header and footer tab. We have to click different first page. See, and there the information always disappears. I'll just put it back in. Why do we click this? Because remember I shared projectapa.info last week. They also have a sample paper you can look at. And as you can see here, right, you have the word running head, all lowercase, colon, the title of your paper. But the words running head is just announcing to the reader that this is going to be the continuing header. But the words running head disappear on the other pages. Okay? So we have running head on the cover page, but not the other pages. So that's why we click different first page, because we want the first page to look different, the header. Okay? Now, we also have to insert page numbers, which you can do here, or you can go up to the tools, okay, insert page numbers. And yes, we want the number on the first page. And yes, we want it in the top right corner. Now, every time I click OK, again, information disappears. So you might have to do it a couple times. So I strongly recommend copying these words that you type in, or the page doesn't appear. See, and look, different first page, it's now unchecked. So I'll check it again. Now the page number appears. So don't freak out if you have to do things a couple times. Eventually you'll get it to stick. Now, this is very, very nitpicky, but the entire document, okay, from the header to the cover page, through the body of the essay itself, all the way down to the references page, needs to be in a single font. That is 12-point Times New Roman. And yeah, we need to fix that in the header. Okay, so I'll just copy everything and change that font. Times New Roman 12-point. Boom. It didn't stick. I guess I had to enter. Hold on. Times New. There we go. Now we can just exit out of the header. Okay. This always happens to me. Okay, you have to click out of it. My computer is a little bit sticky. We're not done. We've created the header. Now we have to create the rest of the cover page. And you can do this by just eyeballing. Okay. We have to go to the middle of the page. We also have to go to the center of the page. Okay, so we use the little center tool. And if you're following these steps exactly as I'm doing them, I recommend already setting up double spacing. The entire document needs to be double spaced anyway, so why not do it now? So we change it from 1.0 to 2.0. And we need three things here. We need, see, sometimes I have to double check. Okay, yeah, the title of your paper, your name, and the name of the university or the institution you attend. Okay, so let's do that. Placeholder title goes here. That's not the name of the paper. It's just some gibberish I'm putting in. Notice it's not in all caps. For the header, we put it in all caps. Here, we just capitalize major words. If there's a small word like and, we wouldn't, or of, or the. Okay? So kind of like MLA, we capitalize all major words. Then your name, the writer. Okay? And Full Sail University. We also have to fix this. Okay? Times New Roman. And then, like I said, just eyeball things. It needs to be in the middle of the page, so it looks like it needs to be bumped down a little bit. Maybe there? Does that look like the middle to people? Maybe one more? Yeah, that looks pretty good, right? Just, again, eyeball it. Pachai or Pache. What is very frustrating? APA format? Uh, okay, but if you follow along, and you might need to rewatch it, okay? Believe me, you'll be okay. Okay, so we got this in the correct font. It's double spaced. I'm putting my cursor right after the final word, and I'm going to hit enter, return or enter, until I get to the very first line of a brand new page. As soon as I get there, I'm going to stop. Oh, yes, I know what you mean. But it happened to me too. It's just a matter of re-clicking that little box that says different first page. Eventually you get the hang of it. And listen, if things keep disappearing, yeah, don't worry. Do the best you can. I'm not going to be so obsessed about the header. Just give it the old college try. Okay, so as soon as you get to the first line on the new page, again, you put your title. What did I say? Placeholder title goes here. Okay. And we hit enter once. Just once. Not twice, not 3 times. Just once. And we can begin our essay. And we have to begin on the left side of the page. So I'll click the Align Left button. We hit Tab on the left side of your keyboard to indent. And you can start typing. Your essay goes here. I'm going to copy this because I'm going to fill up a bunch of space, right? And here's the thing. If you have double spacing set up, your text automatically wraps down to the next line. Most of you know that, right? But there are students who don't do that. The document is single spaced, and kind of like the old days where you'd use a typewriter and get to the end of the page and manually hit enter twice to begin a new line. Yeah, that doesn't work well in Microsoft Word because Microsoft Word doesn't know what you're doing. And so your essay isn't truly double spaced, and it does weird things like it forces the first letter of a new line to be capitalized because it thinks you're starting a new sentence, not continuing the same one. Actually, I'm going to grab a whole bunch of this so I can fill up even more space. When you reach the end of a sentence, you put a period, right? And you hit your space bar twice, 1, 2, and type. Okay? If there's a comma, 1 space. If there's a period, 2 spaces. Yeah, Terrence, I still need to look at your work, so hang in there. Okay, I know. It is true that we instructors try to return work within 72 hours, and yeah, I always need the full 72 hours. So I apologize that you're still waiting, but I am grading outlines. Okay, I think 2 of the people here have received feedback already. 2 of the 9 people who are here. So yeah, I've got about 10 more papers to grade. Okay, now when you reach the end of a paragraph, okay, so let's say your paragraph ends here. You hit enter once, just once. Hit tab to indent and keep going. Okay, actually I'm gonna go grab a whole bunch of text because I want to put in entire paragraphs. Because here's what happens. Sometimes students do things like this. They put extra space in there, they put extra space in there, and they think it looks better. It doesn't, okay? It should look like this. And yeah, I know the text, your essay goes here, your essay goes here, it looks kind of funky. But look at the Diet Coke paper. Okay, this is how it should look. And to my eyes, that looks very professional, very clean. Open up a book sometime, especially like a novel. You don't see huge spaces between paragraphs. So yeah, APA, the beauty of APA is that it's very clean. It's simple, it's clean, and it's professional looking. It might look boring to your eyes, but trust me, this consistency actually looks good for the reader. Let's see, I'm trying to read comments at the same time. My blank document. Okay, so I'm going to fill up a bunch of space now. Okay, we're going to imagine that the paper is continuing, indent, the paper is continuing, and whenever the paper ends, let's say it ends, I'll put in one more paragraph. Okay, let's say your paper ends here. Keep hitting enter until you get to the very first line of a new page. As soon as you get there, stop. Boom, stop. Again, we're going to center. And let me blow this up a bit. And we're going to put the word references. Okay, it's not in all caps. It's not bolded. It's not italicized. It doesn't have a colon after it. It's not works cited. It's not bibliography. It's not sources. It's just the simple word references. And we're going to come back to this, okay? Because right now we're just focusing on layout. I do need to fix one other thing. Remember at the beginning, I said, I know it's probably making your eyes dizzy to see me scroll like this, that the words running ahead have to disappear on all remaining pages. And where are the page numbers? Yeah, these again are the funky things that keep happening. So I'm going to go back into the header. I'm again going to click on, I'm going to get rid of this because we don't need that. And I'm going to again click insert page numbers. Yes, we want it on the first page. Yes, we want it at the top right of the top right corner. And okay, now we have, this looks good. The title without the words running ahead, and there's a page number. And here the words running ahead have disappeared. Let me click different first page again. And yeah, it comes back. So, Pache, it is frustrating. I wish I could explain it. It happens every single month. I don't know why. Sometimes it disappears, but eventually you can get it to look like this. Okay, running head, page number, all remaining pages, no running head, page number. Okay, and if the words running ahead appear on every page, yeah, I won't. You're not going to lose points for that. Okay, so do the best that you can. So that's layout. Do people feel comfortable that they can follow these steps? Do you feel like you can create the cover page? That you can eventually figure out the header, or at least mostly figure it out, and set up the paragraphs correctly? Okay, good. Because really, it is that simple. And some of these things are standard, by the way. Double spacing is standard for an essay. Not putting extra spaces between paragraphs, that's also standard. So even if you in the future don't write something in APA style, yeah, these are kind of basic rules, basic house rules. Okay, so we're done with layout. Let's talk about the next stage, which is in-text citations. So in your paragraph, you are quoting something or paraphrasing, okay? And that's a choice you'll have to make. Do you really need to quote the exact words that you've read? Or can you, in your own words, explain what the quote is saying? Either way, you still have to cite, okay? And that's what we're going to talk about now. I have this sample article, okay? We looked at it last week briefly. Adriana says the spacing after each sentence is disconcerting. Is the actual essay meant to be double spaced? Yes, the entire essay should be double spaced. This is double spacing. And I'm not sure why you say the spacing after each sentence is disconcerting. I mean, it's as simple as, I'm so used to it, I don't even think about it. You reach the end of a sentence ends with a period, of course, hit your space bar twice, and keep typing. Period. Space, keep typing. Okay? Oh, between the lines as far as spacing. Between paragraphs or between lines? Remember, this looks a little bit funky because you're seeing the same repeated wording. If we look at an actual essay, I don't know. I think that looks nice. And that is double spaced. So I don't know if you mean that it doesn't look double spaced to your eyes, but no, that's how it should look. And by the way, Full Sail APA is the style system that's used in all Full Sail classes. So APA does not disappear once English class is over. You will be expected to know these basics. Okay, so in-text citations. Last week I found this article on called "Gimme Sales." Right, it's a play on words. The title of the song used in the Call of Duty ad is called "Gimme Shelter" by the Rolling Stones. So this article, "Gimme Sales" by Ann Donahue, Billboard magazine. I mentioned last week that this article, it may not. You probably need more research than just this, because ultimately, if you're talking about the ad's use of music, you should be doing research into why this song, right? I think I've told some people my feedback on assignments that ad analysis seeks to answer the question why. Why does it use this color? Why is it using lighting in this way? Why is it doing this? Why is it doing that? So why this song? And I said that even though this article doesn't explain why, there is this information here. Okay, that this vice president of music affairs flew to New York to get permission to use the song. True, that doesn't help explain why this song, but it is kind of, I don't know, extra evidence that absolutely Activision wanted this song. I think I've mentioned this in a previous lecture. Any song could have been used if they were just looking for a cool song or a well-known song or a song that matches the feel of the ad. But no, they wanted this song specifically. Why? You'd probably need to do more research, of course, but yeah, this is kind of anecdotal evidence. So maybe there's something here I could use. So let's first quote something, and then let's paraphrase. Actually, let me begin with a paraphrase. Okay, so paraphrase means you're not quoting directly, and actually I think this is a good choice for a paraphrase. Sometimes students will read a section like this, love the way that's worded, think to themselves, wow, that words things better than I ever could, until they take the whole thing. Yeah, don't do that. Think more in terms of short quotations that work to support your ideas. It's not about finding long quotes and then it's kind of like it's backwards, right? Short quotes should support your ideas, not the other way around, where your ideas are supporting long quotations. Okay. And because the information in here, I would argue, yeah, it's kind of the gist of what's being said here that's important. This would be a good thing to paraphrase. So let's imagine that this paragraph here is the paragraph where I'm talking about the ad's use of music. Now, here's where things get a little bit confusing. You always have two options. You can mention the author's name in your actual sentence or not. Let's imagine that I'm going to mention the author's name in my sentence. So again, there's a lot of imagining here because we're going to pretend this is the paragraph about the ad's use of music. So according to Ann Donahue, and if you mention the author's name in your sentence, you have to immediately put the year. Okay, it's just a rule. You mention the author's name, year in parentheses automatically. So according to Ann Donahue, 2010, how should I word this? According to Ann Donahue, actually, you don't have to do this, but you could even include more information. Like, according to Ann Donahue of Billboard, obtaining the rights for Gimme Shelter required significant effort with the vice president of music affairs flying, I can't type today, flying to New York. I hate this Mac's new keyboard. It is so terrible. Flying to New York I'm having trouble coming up with wording. Well, we'll just leave it at that. According to Ann Donahue of Billboard magazine, obtaining rights for Gimme Shelter required significant effort, with the vice president of music affairs flying to New York to get permission, not gain permission. Okay, let's just leave it at that. It's not the most elegant thing, but that's the best I can do off the top of my head. Okay, so guess what? We're done. For a paraphrase, that's it. As long as we have an author's name mentioned and a year, we're good. Now, you don't have to mention an author's name in your actual sentence. And this is a difficult thing to describe. When should you name the author? When shouldn't you? You'll feel which option is right. Like here mentioning Anne Donahue and that she's from Billboard magazine. Yeah, that seems kind of important, right? Billboard is a well-known music publication. So, yeah, it feels kind of important maybe to mention her. But you don't have to. You can find your own way to set things up. For example, you could say something like, indeed, obtaining the rights for Gimme Shelter requires significant effort, with the Vice President of Music Fairs flying to New York to get permission. If you don't mention the author's name, you do at the end. Okay? Last name, not full, just last name, Donahue, comma, year, 2010. Okay? You see how that works? You can either do it in your actual sentence if you mention the author's name, or you can save it for the end. This becomes a little bit confusing because it's kind of like choose your own adventure. You'll always have two options, and it's always based on, are you going to mention the author's name in your sentence or not? Let me catch up on some comments here. Yeah, Terrence, again, when I read your outline, I'll have plenty of feedback to give you. Now, the same basic rules apply, almost exactly the same, for if you do use a direct quote, except you have to include an extra piece of information. Author's last name and year is not enough. So again, I think this is best for a paraphrase, but let's say I decided to grab something. Let's say I decided to quote this. For the first time in Activision history, it allowed another company to make edits to the ad itself. Okay, so I'm going to quote that directly. Actually, it might fit at the end of the sentence here. And quote, for the first time, this always happens too. And unfortunately, I can't use that trick where I click match destination formatting. It doesn't work. So let me fix this real quickly. This needs to be double spaced. And it needs to be Times New Roman 12 point. Okay. So do you see what I did there? So obtaining the rights for Gimme Shelter required significant effort, with the Vice President of Music Affairs flying to New York to give permission, comma, and quote, for the first time in Activision history, it allowed another company to make edits to the ad itself in order to obtain approval from the band members as well, end quote. Okay. First of all, when the quote ends, that's not where the period goes. The true end of the sentence is the end of the citation. Okay, so yeah, that's a common mistake. Period doesn't go here at the end of the quotation. It goes here. Now, this isn't enough. Donahue, comma, 2010. We also need a page or a paragraph number. Why do I say page or paragraph number? Because I think I mentioned it last week. This, yeah, we only have one page here. We're not going to put page one because that's inaccurate. But if you do, mostly with PDF files, have an actual recreation of the magazine itself or the journal, and there are actual page numbers, yes, give the page number. But if it's a one-page document or if it's a website that you have to keep scrolling to read, count the paragraphs. So this comes in paragraph 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the abbreviation is PARA, all lowercase, period. One space, I know that's confusing. I just said when it's the end of a sentence, 2 spaces, but here it's not the end of a sentence, just 1 space. Paragraph 5. Okay, so last name, comma, year, comma, paragraph 5. Now, what if I want to do the other option? I can still do it. According to Anne Donahue, right, 2010, we automatically have to put the year. It's a rule of Billboard. And then what we do is, because we've already mentioned the author's name and put the year in our actual sentence, here we just need this. Okay, you see how that works? So if you're paraphrasing, we just need an author's name and year. And you can decide whether to include that information in your actual sentence or save it for the end. Quotations, same thing, except you need a page or a paragraph number. And you still have to make the decision. Are you going to put everything at the end, or are you going to split it up? If you mention the author's name, again, the year has to appear in parentheses immediately. But the page or paragraph number gets left for the very end. And if it's a page number, you just use lowercase p, period, and then the page number, whether it's page 5 or page 52 or page 524. Okay. Yeah, Terrence, I mean, I don't mean to sound, I can't really respond to, maybe after the lecture, but I can't pause the lecture to give you specific feedback on your outline. Okay. Does that make sense to people? I know it's confusing, right? Because actually there are two different levels. Are you paraphrasing? Are you quoting directly? And then, are you going to mention the author's name in your sentence or not? And that becomes confusing sometimes because sometimes students mix formats. Okay, so they kind of, you have these two different ways of doing things, and they sometimes mix options of both. Kwana says, how does this apply to one-page articles? Yeah, if you're talking about like a website, you would count the paragraphs, okay, and keep scrolling down, right? Basically, you'll know, like, do I have a, let's see if I can find a PDF real quickly. Any of my search results PDFs here? Oh man, I lost my. Here, let's look for something so general, like education, that it will trigger. What? Okay, I'm having trouble with the library database. Yeah, Quan, I think you got it, so I won't show. But I'm just saying PDF files tend to be exact recreations of the actual pages. They're almost like photographs of the pages, and they'll have traditional page numbers. Okay, so let's move on to references. Now, if you, actually, I need to go back to the database anyway, because I want to get back to that article. So give me shelter. I don't want that. Call of Duty. Now, if you find something useful in the Full Sail Library database, you do have this cool tool, okay? On the right, called the Cite Tool. I don't have any issue with you using this, but you have to fix the mistakes that it makes. So you can't just use it as a way to, oh, great, APA has been done for me. Usually it gets APA correct, but it does make, it loves to put author's name in all caps. That's not correct. Sometimes it loves to put article titles all in caps. That's not correct. Or here, there's actually a small capitalization error here. But I'll take the reference because most of it is right. Okay, so I'll copy it. I'll go to the references page. Okay, remember we started to create the references page? It's been bumped because I added some text. We'll put it back at the very top of the page. Center it. Put our cursor after it. And again, hit enter once. Just once. And again, we go to the left and we can start creating a references page. And yeah, I'll paste in that reference. And I'll click match destination formatting. So it's automatically in Times New Roman 12-point font. And I'll fix these things. Also, and so many students forget this, even though I mention it all the time, APA title rules for the article title, very, very different from MLA. You actually capitalize as you would a normal sentence. So the G in gimme will stay capitalized, but not the S in sales. So let me just make up a title off the top of my head. Imagine that there's an article or a book or even a video that's called The Road Ahead of Us, The Road Behind Us. Okay, lousy title, but let's just imagine that's the title. This is how you would capitalize it in APA. Okay, but here's how you would capitalize it in APA. Oops. Honestly, I make so many mistakes because the keyboard on these new Macs, it really is awful. It's so flat. It's almost like, you know how like sometimes tablets can come with like an extra cheap little keyboard you plug in? It's kind of like that. It's so difficult to. Anyway, this is how you would capitalize an APA. And it looks weird, right? But in APA, it isn't. Let's look at the references page on this sample student paper. See, here's the title. It's a long title. The influence of motivational and mood states on visual attention. A quantification of systematic differences and casual changes in subject's focus of attention. Whew. But look, yes, the T, the beginning of the sentence is capitalized because you would do that for the beginning of any sentence. The rest of it lowercase. Oh, you do capitalize the first letter after a colon in this case because I don't know, it's too difficult to explain. Same thing with the title of the ad. Why is the C in Coke capitalized, by the way? Anybody want to take a stab at that? Why isn't that made lowercase? Right? The D in die gets capitalized because that's kind of like the first letter of the first word of a new sentence. But why is Coke? Good. Nice. Awesome. I love the way everybody jumps in there. Yeah, proper nouns get capitalized. So, yeah, if I don't know why the name, the word Tuesday would suddenly appear. But yeah, if the word Tuesday appears or someone's name appears, of course. Again, think of it like a regular sentence. If you would capitalize in a regular sentence, you capitalize it in the article title. Okay? I know this is getting into the weeds a little bit more, but you might have noticed. Do I still have it? Okay, yeah, I do. According to Ann Donahue of Billboard. Why did I italicize? This will be super helpful. Big things get italicized. What I mean by big things, another way to put it would be holes. Okay, so books, TV shows, films, video games, what else? Magazines, newspapers, okay, etc. Parts of those holes, okay, so small things, get put in quotation marks. So not an entire book, but an article in a book, or not an entire, again, collection of short stories, but an individual short story, or an individual episode of a television show, or a song. I forgot I could also put albums up here, CDs, right? I know nobody buys CDs anymore. Individual songs, okay? If you can just remember that, the smaller things, the parts that are the bigger things get put in quotation marks. The bigger things themselves, italics. So, for example, let me think of a song. The song Shake It Off is my favorite from Taylor Swift's album 1989. Okay, so the album gets italicized, the song is put in quotation marks. Okay, or my favorite short story from 9 stories, that's the name of the collection, is A Perfect Day for Banana Fish. Did I spell banana correctly? Yeah, I think so. Right? Does this make sense? If you really remember this, small things, quotation marks. The bigger things, italics. You'll never get confused about whether italicize or put in quotation marks. Same thing here. This is a video. Okay, videos get italicized. Articles do not. Why are we not putting articles in quotation marks? Because on a references page, we don't do so. But if we were to name it in the actual essay itself, yeah, we would put in quotation marks. Okay. Or back to my example. So let me get away from this. Billboard, italicized because it's the name of a magazine. If I actually mentioned her article, according to Ann Donahue of Billboard, in her article, Gimme Sales, okay, right? The article gets put in quotation marks. It also explains why Gimme Shelter is placed in quotation marks. It's the name of a song. Oh, thank you, Paul. It looked wrong. You'd be amazed how I did not know how to spell simple words. Can I explain that too? I've written to so many people that I do not expect perfection in terms of spelling or grammar knowledge, but I do expect people to use grammar check and spell check. I do. Okay. So yeah, please do that. That's a good reminder. Thank you, Paul. Because yeah, I make mistakes sometimes because I can't remember. I hate the word occur. I can never remember. Is it two C's and one R? Is it one C and two R's? Is it two C's and two R's? I hate that word. um, so yeah, please use spell check. I'm trying to catch up on comments. I'm not understanding all of them. Okay. Anyway, we're creating references, and I got way off topic. Okay, we're not done here. Even though this is right, we still need one more thing. We put the words retrieved from, and you have two options here. Okay, if you want to follow projectap.info, or yeah, projectap.info, which asks you to list the name of the database, sure, that's fine. So you could put retrieve from academic. Actually, which article, which source is it from? It's Business Source Complete, I think. Yeah, Business Source Complete. Okay, so you could say retrieve from Business Source Complete. And you're done. Or you can grab the permalink. Okay, it's on the right side. If this is only for the Full Sail Library database, you can grab the permalink. But that would take the place of the name of the database. Pick one or the other. Okay, either include the permalink. Oops, I have to go back and get it again. Grab the permalink or just type the name of the database. Don't do both. Okay, so either do this or this. We're not quite done. With regular paragraphs, we indent the first line of a new paragraph, but not the remaining lines. With the references page, it's the complete opposite. We do not indent the first line, but if the entry goes onto a second line or a third line, we do indent. So I'm just going to put my cursor and grab the little bottom half of this hourglass, half an inch. Okay, and then we can continue. Now, I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a reference just in real time. You don't need the citation tool. I'm going to just do a search for Call of Duty. Gimme shelter. And I'm just going to grab anything, okay? So I'm not going to try to look at the quality of the article. I'm just going to try to find a article. Okay, here we go. Rolling Stones earn a few bucks off Black Ops. We have everything we need here. We have an author's name. We have a date. We have a title. Okay, we can build this thing from scratch. This guy's name is Tom Goldman. Goldman, last name, comma, first initial, so Tom, T, and then we put the date in parentheses. This is going to seem maybe way too specific, but if you can remember to put the year, that's cool. But technically, for anything that's like a newspaper or a website, something that's published with much greater frequency, journals or things like Billboard, they typically sometimes come out once a month. Websites, of course, can come out daily. Newspapers come out daily. We should give a fuller date. And they format for that, because I have to double check something. There are no examples here. Let me open up my Jeep paper real quickly. And scroll down the references page. Yeah, so year followed by full date, no abbreviations. So in this case, it is 2010, November 23rd. Okay. 2010, comma, November 3rd. So no abbreviation for November. No, the full name of the month. And again, if you forget this, don't worry. But technically, we should give a fuller date for things like this. How many references do you need in your paper? You need 3. And remember, there's that video that's included in most of the assignments, the one by Matt Rosano called Pathos, Logos, and Ethos in Advertising, or maybe it's Ethos, Logos, and Pathos in Advertising. You can use that source. Again, I encourage you, please do something more interesting with it than just telling me pathos is the appeal to emotion, and then include a citation for the video. Yeah, basic definitions, that's not really research. But yeah, you have one source that's been given to you, and then you just need to find 2 more. One should come from the Full Sail Library database, and the other one can come from online. Or if you don't like the video, I think I showed last week that my Jeep paper has 6 sources in it. And yeah, I didn't use the video. Oh, that's not it. Anyway, I won't bring it up. But yeah, it has 6 sources. Okay. But yeah, you need 3. I'm going to go ahead and copy the title, bring that over. 2 spaces after a period. Whoa, that's fine. Just click Match Destination Formatting. And who wants to help me out here? What stays capitalized? What does not? Rolling Stones? Yeah, that stays capitalized. But not earn, or few, or bucks, or off. What about Black Ops? Should it stay italicized? Should it stay in all caps? What do you think? Yes or no? Or maybe so? Yes, yes. Okay, good. You're all on the right path, right? It stays capitalized because that's the name of a video game. It is a proper noun. It's not the full title, but clearly it's referencing the title of the game. And it stays italicized because if you remember from my other mini lecture, video game titles, titles should be italicized. I don't freak out when I don't see it italicized. Most people forget to, but I'm teaching you the right rules. Okay, so we need a publication name. This was published in The Escapist. So The Escapist. Okay. Again, magazine titles, italicized, or website titles, italicized. And here it's real simple. We just need retrieved from, and here we can just grab the URL, okay, the web address. This guy here. And once you set the indentation, actually there should be no period here. Once you get the indentation set for the first one, it will set up for the following ones, okay? So as soon as you hit enter, you can enter the next one. Right, so Smith, J, and so on. I hate the actual link itself, so I always take it off by right-clicking, going to hyperlink, remove hyperlink. And it didn't work, because I guess I had more than just the hyperlink selected. I think it just looks cleaner. Like that. Okay, so believe it or not, we've reached pretty much what I wanted to cover. We've talked about layout, we've talked about in-text citations, and we've talked about references. Do people feel comfortable? And I know it's a lot of information, and it's a lot of nitpicky rules. By the way, you'll make me smile if you can remember things like this. Capitalizing the source title as you would a regular sentence, because so few students remember that. But yeah, it's little things like this that make APA frustrating. The rules seem numerous and random, but really, once you get them down, it is easy. It really is. I can do most of these steps in my sleep. Questions, comments? So about APA, about the upcoming essay assignment, or about anything pertaining to the class, now is the time to ask. If you are comfortable with what we've gone over, you are free to enjoy the rest of your evening. I thank you so much for attending. Kawan asks, I'm still a bit hesitant on what to italicize. Do you mean like when I was giving the examples of what to italicize and what to put in quotation marks, or more like here on the references page, or in general? Sadly, I didn't close it. Thank God. So let me fix this. Spell things correctly. Yeah. Really, I always think in terms of big things and small things, or whole things, or parts of those whole things, right? So an entire book gets italicized, but anything that appears in the book, like an essay or short story or an individual poem, gets put in quotation marks. So a television show would get italicized, but an individual episode, like my favorite Star Trek, The Next Generation episode, is Inner Light. Okay, so the name of the television show, italicized, because it's a whole thing. It's a big thing. But the individual episode of that show, quotation marks. The title of this collection, this book of short stories, italicized. The individual short story that appears in that book, quotation marks. Someone's actual album, italicized. But a song from that album, quotation marks. Actually, I know what song Gimme Shelter comes from. Gimme Shelter comes from the album Let It Bleed. Yeah, I know the Rolling Stones fairly well. For our journal response assignment, it says to explain your understanding of AP format and main ideas from your textbook chapters. To explain the main ideas from our textbook, do you mean explain the main ideas from every chapter, or just explain the main ideas from the chapters we felt were useful? Yeah, the ones you felt you were useful. Again, it's. I know it's difficult, and I try to give guidance. You are writing a journal entry, which is kind of like a response. But at the same time, I'm also explaining to the students that I need to just feel confident that you've completed the readings and watched the lecture. So, yeah, don't worry. I mean, most of you have probably here have done just fine on the journal entries, right? You've hopefully gotten the idea of what I look for. Yeah, if I come away with the feeling like, yes, I believe this person completed the readings, I believe this person attended the lecture, then you'll get a high grade. It is true. Other instructors look for more touchy-feely responses, but that makes me nervous because I really want to make sure that people are doing it, especially the lecture. Don't get me wrong, the readings are important too, but the lectures, these assignments cannot be completed correctly if you're not watching the lectures, right? You have to know what ad analysis is. You have to know about thesis statements. So yeah, when students either attend or watch lectures, they do just fine. They all pass. That's not an issue. So yeah, I'm a little bit obsessive with making sure people are keeping up with the tasks because otherwise I have no idea. Now you 8 or 9 wonderful people, of course you're in attendance here right now, so I know that you're watching the lecture. Uh, does that make sense? I know it's a little bit too honest of a response, but just from the instructor's point of view, that's kind of my main issue. Yeah, is someone just commented, simple and straightforward. Usually, I agree. Don't make it so simple and straightforward that I don't feel confident that you've completed the assignments. But yes, 2 medium-ish paragraphs where you summarize. But no, you do not have to summarize every chapter. You don't have to prove to me. Just yeah. Not only that, but I don't want to read that much. Oh, Kawana, you haven't been here for a previous live lecture? We usually have mostly the same group, right? So Terrence is usually here. Adriana is usually here, or Adriana. Donovan, I think, is usually here. Yeah, it's usually the same group. So if this is your first one, or maybe you skipped the second one, I don't know. Yeah, why not get the live lecture over with in one fell swoop? Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns about APA or other? I'm happy to hang out and keep responding. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording. So for people who are watching at home, thank you so much. Rewatch this lecture, okay, as needed. I'm stopping the recording now.